All right, I'm delighted to be joined on the line by friend of the show, Ellen Keane. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Are
Just
you good? Anytime we ask how are you now, you have to ask it with extra meaning.
how are you really?
Really, Ellen. Spill the beans.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think the first 2 weeks since the kind of pool closed and the announcement of the games being postponed were probably the hardest 2 weeks. But now I've kind of gotten used to it, gotten into a new normal. And I'm actually grand. Like I'm taking it day by day. If anything, like the stress of everything is gone, so everyone just feels
Mm.
like a little bit like lighter. As long as like you're being safe and there's no one in your family or any of your friends who are immediately affected by the situation, then I think it's easy to kind of be in a good frame of mind.
How did you find that stress over those first couple of weeks? 'Cause I think everyone went through probably the same sort of panic and anxiety. How did you find you coped with that?
So when everything started to shut down, the pool, we still had access to the pool and we still had access to the Sport Ireland Institute, which was really, really handy because at that stage, the games were still going ahead. So as long as the games were still going ahead, we still had access to a training facility. Um, but it was like I found that probably the most stressful because we were watching the rest of the world kind of shut down and all of our other athletes who we compete against, they weren't able to access training facilities. They weren't able to swim. And I kind of felt guilty that I was able to swim. And then the stress of everything else. And like we're living history right now. And it's
Mm.
just also surreal. And there's no normal way to react to the situation. So I had a lot of like emotional stress like on my mind or in my body. And even when I was in the pool and I was training, I wasn't able to train properly. Like I was just so tired and so heavy. And then I feel so guilty that I wasn't able to take advantage of the opportunity that I was given. Like I was trying, but it was just
Mm.
so difficult. So when the news came in that the games were postponed, I kind of just had a sigh of relief that the pressure was off. We could react normally to the situation now and kind of just deal with what was happening like throughout the world. Like obviously this is bigger than sport. So to be able to take sport out of the equation was kind of a sigh of relief. And now we have like a little bit of downtime to just the first 2 weeks really was just about getting our head around it, and now adjusting to our new normal, as I said, which I have done.
It's hard to believe that 3, 4 weeks ago we were still talking about the potential of an Olympic Games and a Paralympic
Oh my
Games
God, it
and
was
sport
mad.
continuing and almost and Wayne Rooney wrote about this at the time when people were talking about the Premier League still going on, that like sports people almost been used as guinea pigs, and because there's so much investment in Tokyo, put so much into the games happening, and like we constantly hear about the billions that even the delay of a year is going to cost, a feeling that it may just go ahead because it has to go ahead. Like was that a
Mm.
genuine concern that you may be put in a position that in the middle of this global pandemic, you might have to go to Tokyo regardless of what's happening?
Yeah, and it was like the most upsetting part of it all was that you knew that other people weren't training. So if the games were going to go ahead, it wasn't going to be a proper Olympic or Paralympic
Mm,
games. It was athletes weren't going to be in the top shape that they could be. And I wasn't going to be in the top shape that I could be. And it kind of just felt wrong. And even like so many qualification competitions were cancelled and people weren't even able to qualify. So knowing that there was going to be athletes who were going to miss out because they were going to let the games go ahead and they weren't going to take the crisis seriously. It was just really hard to deal with. So when the games were postponed, it was like, right now everyone has a chance,
mm,
and everyone has a chance to get there for one, be in the best shape of their life for another. And it's going to be a big celebration of what everyone has kind of overcome, and to be able to celebrate sport and everyone to be able to finally come together as well. And the slogan for the Tokyo Games is United by Emotion. And I think that's what
mm.
everyone is currently doing anyway. So it's definitely going to have a really big lead up to it.
Was there a turning point then for you when it went from like this is this huge moment in your life going back to an Olympic Games again, when the outbreak first started and there's sort of whispers about it, from God, I hope this goes ahead. I've done so much training. I've got my qualification. Like my entire 4 years has been built around this. To actually, you know what? I really don't want this to go ahead.
I think the turning point was kind of when qualification things started to get cancelled, and then everyone like I know like my friends and my family had my best interest at heart, but just people would casually bring up, oh, like what's going to happen with the Olympics? What's going to happen with the Paralympics? And they just kind of casually stick that in. And you're here being like, this is my whole life. And you're just going to be like, oh, no, that's not going to happen. That's going to be cancelled. And you're literally like, I have spent my whole life training for this, and you're just casually dismissing it. So that's one thing that I found really, really hard. And the more people were like, oh, it's going to be cancelled, it's going to be cancelled, the more I was like, please, just somebody needs to come out and say it's postponed so that I can stop listening to this negativity and I can just start to plan fresh. And so, yeah, that was kind of when it started to be like, I really just want this to be postponed.
I should mention that you're talking to us because you're a Toyota ambassador, and Toyota's an official partner to Paralympics Ireland and also the worldwide mobility partner for the Olympic and the Paralympic Games. Their advertising campaign is Start Your Impossible, and that's built around now Tokyo 2021. You can check out toyota.ie for more information. But their campaign has just been pushed back a year. Everything has been pushed back a year. It seems almost to the date. Is that the case for you now as well, that this is just, in a way, park 2020 and sort of almost, are you pushing your head back a year into how you felt this time last year where you were still 15 months away for it? Like, how are you getting your head around the fact that this is 12 months further away than you thought it would be?
Well, for one, it's just that little bit more time that you're given to prepare, which is never a bad thing. And when it kind of was announced, my coach, Dave Malone, was really, really good at keeping in contact with everyone and checking in on everyone and making sure that everyone was okay. And he was just reassuring us that everything was going to be okay. So he was kind of telling us that now we're going to go back to like kind of like pre-Christmas sort of training, and when we go back we're going to have like a few little breaks so that we know what our structure is going to be like. And what he was telling us, we were able to kind of picture, okay, this time last year this is where I was, and look at how much faster, how much fitter I got just in 2 months or 3 months. So having a coach that is still, although I can't physically see him and I can't physically train with him at the moment, he's still my coach and he's still there and he still has our back at the moment. And we still have Zooms every now and then, every week to check in on us. We're still a team. We still have that team vibe. So yeah, no, having that little bit extra time isn't a bad thing. And if anything, it kind of gives you that little bit more time to mentally prepare, kind of work on those little kind of maybe visualization that you could have been a little bit too tired to work on, and have a little bit of goal setting set up, just work on the little things that maybe you didn't have time to before because you were that little bit more tired. And even educating yourself in a little bit of nutrition can't go amiss.
Yeah, you've probably been stuck on the machine for the last 10 years at this stage, to actually just step off it for a little while and go, well, these are the small little gains I can make over the next while that aren't in a pool, that actually can make you a better person, a more rounded person, and probably a better athlete at the end of it.
Yeah, even before this happened, I was having a little bit of trouble with my hip. So there was like a little bit of a niggle with my hip, and when this whole thing happened, my physio was like, this is great, we have time to rest, we have time to build up a little bit more strength that we probably wouldn't have had time for, we don't have to worry about it anymore. So it is, to be honest, I kind of see this as a little bit of a blessing, not because I was worried about my hip, but it kind of gives you a second chance to get absolutely everything right. And it's a little bit more exciting as well, because as soon as I said before, as the news came in that the qualifications were being closed, or that the rest of the world was starting to shut down, and just that initial, oh my God, what's happening? That's just been taken away. So it's kind of given us that little bit of break that we needed.
It's great that you are able to rationalize it so well and look at it as a little bit more time to prepare. And we had Rhys McLennan on a couple of weeks ago, and he was very similar of, listen, you know, I'm a young guy, I'm 20, it gives me an extra 12 months. I want to perfect the McLennan on the pommel horse, and it's going to become this name, and it gives me an extra 12 months to blow the judges away and a bit more time to practice. And because my initial thought for athletes, and like I know everybody's affected in different ways, and economically people are losing jobs, and like people are going to suffer for this, both with their health and economically for a long time to come. But like sports people have short defined careers, that if things are going really well for you in 2020, there's no guarantees, unfortunately, in sport that they're going to go well for you in 2021. Like, is there any fear at all that, all right, I'm there, that like, again, there's a bit more jeopardy, the fact that it's 15 months away?
Well, there wasn't. There is now.
Have you not thought about this? Because you really should.
No, I think I'm quite good at just looking after myself, and I think I'm just going to enjoy this break and not do anything silly. I've been at this for a very, very long time, so I've never experienced such a long time out of the water. And to be honest, I'm actually enjoying it because it's a rest that I kind of felt I needed for a while. And it's not a rest that I can feel guilty about taking because the rest of the world aren't training; they're not in the water. And even like at the end of a season, the longest I would take out of the water is 3 weeks, and now we're on longer than 3 weeks at the moment. So I'm kind of getting that little bit of itch that I need to get back in the water and that I want to get back in the water. So I know by the time I'm able to get back in and train, I'll be like every day I'll appreciate every single session that I have. Even like the last session that I had, I knew before the end of the session that it was going to be the last time I was going to be in the pool for a very long time, and I was able to just enjoy every single stroke. It was kind of sad. It was kind of like bittersweet. Like all of us knew what was happening. We all knew that it was going to be our last time in the pool for a very long time. And there was a little bit of sadness to it. And I'm going to get emotional now. But I think we all realize how this kind of break is going to give every athlete a little bit more time to realize how much they love their sport. And it's going to give the athletes who maybe don't love their sport as much as they thought they did, it's going to make them realize that, and make them realize that there might be something else out there for them. But for me, definitely, it's kind of made me realize how much I love my sport and how much I can't wait to get back in and competing.
That's maybe not loving sport as much as you thought you did. Like, have you had those periods at all over the last 4 years? Because I say you've been on this cycle, and a cycle that's been hugely successful for probably a decade at this stage. Like, was there, like, I look at someone like Annalise Murphy who maybe stepped away and tried a few slightly different things just because she couldn't face another 4 years of straight being in the boat. Like, do you feel over the last 4 years you have sort of got your head in the right space where when you're in the pool you really enjoy it?
Sorry, you kind of broke up there.
Sorry, I was just saying that what you're talking about with the cycle of and realizing how much you love the sport. This 4-year cycle you've been in since the last Paralympics. I was thinking of somebody like Annalise Murphy who, after the sailing, sort of stepped away and went on the round the world race, which like seemed insane in many ways, but just didn't want to be in this constant competitive cycle in the boat, all the expectation, everything that went with it, and just wanted something a little bit different. Do you feel you had that over the last 4 years?
Definitely. I've had it on and off over my whole career, I'd say, just because I've grown up in the sport and I've seen my friends go from school to jobs to trying something new, and swimming is something that I've always done, and it's always been my commitment. And it's not that I've had to sacrifice things, but I've just kind of never had a normal experience that other people have had. So I've kind of have had instances where I'm like, what else can I do? And definitely when I came back from Rio, I remember the first session back, everyone talks about post-Olympic or Paralympic blues, but I remember my first session back and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I here? And thankfully I got over that, but I feel like I did need this break. I feel like I just kind of needed a little bit of time to rest and to kind of rest my mind and take that pressure off. But it definitely has made me realize how much I'm so lucky to be able to do what I do and appreciate my sport. And I can't wait now for Tokyo.
Are you missing the day-to-day side of it? Because I know from talking to you before, you often bring up being out in Abbottstown and around the Institute, and there seems to be a real great camaraderie between the different sports people at such a high elite level. Do you miss that, and not just maybe going for a coffee and having the chats?
That's probably one of the things I miss most. I think the best thing about the sports campus in Abbottstown is that all of us are together. So it's not just swimmers, it's people from different sports throughout Ireland. And we all have little friendships that we've made. And even I've been in contact with a few other sports people, and just that's what we miss. Like every Monday, Wednesday and Friday in the Sport Ireland Institute, we get breakfast. And here's me messaging Brian Gregan being like, do you want to have a virtual breakfast? So it's just really nice, the friendships kind of that we've made, because all the sport is in one area, and I can't wait to be able to just go back and kind of chill and relax and even train with everyone else again.
one of the things you've been doing outside of swimming is you've been doing a little bit with us here and Off the Ball. And funny, I think one of the last big events we did before all this happened
It
was
was
down at
literally like
Capitol
the day
Dock.
before. Yeah. I think it was like the day before.
Which you hosted at the start of the year as well. Yourself and Ciara McGeehan did a brilliant show. So you have been doing other things, and I think you've really become a real role model for people over the last few years. Like, is that something that you're very much aware of? That, like, do you find yourself being recognized more and more as time goes on?
It's weird because I do feel like I get a little bit recognized. And I probably wouldn't get recognized in public as much as other sports would, purely because swimming is hat and goggles and in the water and you can't really see your face. But there have been times when I've been like I'd go out when I wouldn't drink, and I've been in pubs before where I'm like there with my friends who are all having a great night, and like some man came up to me and was like, "I won't tell who you are, your secret stay from me," and he walked away, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so weird, I need to leave." But I definitely find it on social media. I get a lot of messages from kids' parents, or even like I got videos from kids, and they're really, really nice. And even just recently I got one because it was my birthday last week, and there was like a video of a little girl saying happy birthday to me and that I'm a role model, and it was really cute and sweet. And I think it kind of helps kind of push me to do what I am doing, and kind of gives it that little bit more value.
Yeah, like that must be incredibly special, because I think like the people's view on the Paralympics has come on so much over the last few years, particularly I think since London 2012, and there's been a whole host of reasons for that. I think TV program like The Last Leg, where people see a slightly different side of it, and also your general attitude. And I don't want to say you wear it lightly, but that it feels as though people can have more of a conversation, where actually like it needs to be a conversation, because I think for a long time people shied away from the Paralympics because they were probably afraid of saying the wrong thing. Have you noticed a change in that?
Yeah, and I think people with disabilities have to use that to their advantage and have a little bit of banter with it. So I love having a little bit of banter about having one hand. So I'll like make one hand jokes all the time. Or even I'm staying with my boyfriend now, and he's doing gym sessions with me, and he was an athlete himself, but he can't even do some of the stuff that I'm doing, and I'm slagging him, being like, I have one hand, come on, you should be able to do these things. But yeah, no, I think having the opportunity to be in the media and bringing that humor and bringing that little bit of banter, it's kind of making people relax a little bit more and make them enjoy the Paralympics a little bit more as well.
And have you had conversations with other Paralympic athletes? Because I guess everyone comes to that stage and realization, and maybe some people never come to it and never want to have that type of conversation. So particularly when you're getting letters from younger people and you are this inspirational figure for them, as to how they should approach it.
Yeah, well, it was weird. Like, there's one of the swimmers that I really look up to, who's American. Her name is Jessica Long, and she's kind of like the Michael Phelps of the para swimming community, and she's just unreal. But she came up to me after I did my TED talk saying that she found it so inspirational and that it's something that she wished she could do. And I found that a little bit like shocking that someone I looked up to still wasn't able to kind of put herself out there the way I was doing it. But recently she's been doing it herself, and it's just cool that I feel like when we do it ourselves, we're kind of giving other people permission to embrace their own differences and their own disabilities, which is a really cool thing to be able to do.
What's the next step? Because I think actually one of the first times I met you was on a Saturday panel, and you mentioned like access to the pool out in Abbottstown, that even though you're Paralympic athletes, you didn't have the same rights, it seemed, in terms of pool access as the Olympic swimmers. Like, have you seen in Ireland like our attitude towards the Paralympics and towards our Paralympic athletes? Like, have you noticed improvements, or is there still a long way to go?
I've definitely noticed improvements, and especially in terms of sponsors. Really, really big names are coming on board, like my sponsors, especially Toyota, who have organized this. They're helping tell the story of Paralympics, and they're helping people understand and realize. But I think the ultimate goal for not just any Paralympic athlete, but any athlete in general, would be to have a performance center to train in. So that would that would be a lovely goal to have a Paralympic performance centre. I think we're a little while off there, but Sport Ireland are doing a great job in terms of supporting us. Like, we're still supported the same as any Olympic athlete. We're still awarded our carding based on our performance the same as any other athlete, and we still have access to the Sport Ireland Institute as the same as any other athlete. So we are supported, we are getting there, but I think a lot of us would love to have our own little performance centre, but we'll get there.
What would be the big advantages to that? Because like, maybe it's not that far away. I think anybody who's been out to Abbottstown over the last 2 or 3 years, like if you go back month on month, the amount of progression and the amount of new buildings and new facilities that are there, it is incredible, and it's a real good news story for Irish sport. What would be the benefits to Paralympic athletes to having your own specific centre?
It's just because at the moment we all train with able-bodied clubs. Now, there's no issue with that at all, but it's just, obviously Paralympic athletes are a little bit slower. We might need that little bit more attention in terms of technical stuff, because able-bodied athletes, there's kind of like a specific way of swimming, whereas with a Paralympic athlete, we obviously are missing limbs, or we're not able to do certain things in a certain way. So coaches need that little bit more time to observe and look and try things out. So having a performance center would mean we'd have that little bit more lane space to be able to do things like that. And I think that would be a major benefit for us.
Yeah, and I guess the more the message gets out there, the more likely it is to happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
Keep saying it and keep shouting it. So how are you filling your days then? Like, what's you reading books? Are you watching box sets?
I'm actually taking advantage of my culinary degree that I studied. I am taking some time in the kitchen just to cook. Yeah, my boyfriend is enjoying that.
Can we get the Ellen Keane isolation recommendation plan? What's your number one recipe?
I'm trying out new things. So I'm not cooking the same thing every night. Last night, so my boyfriend is following a plant-based diet, and last night I tried to
What a pain in the ass.
No, last night I tried to make falafel burgers. They were awful. They were so bad, but he didn't say anything about it. He was like, "Oh, this is really nice." And then last night I was like, "They were so bad," and he started laughing, and he was like, "I'm so glad you said it, because I didn't want to say it." But this morning I made French toast. Probably not the healthiest thing for an athlete, but I had fruit on it, so it was fine.
Are you treating this like the leaving certs who were told, take 2 or 3 weeks off and just push everything back a bit, that you can sort of let loose for a month at least?
No, I can't afford to do that, because I don't want to put on loads of weight, because then I'll have to take it off when I'm in the pool anyway. But no, I'm just trying to be a little bit kinder to myself. There are days when I feel like I can't train, in terms of like I'm just a little bit too stressed out, or it's easier to kind of enjoy the day rather than have to train on top of that. And I know other athletes are experiencing that, and I think it's important. There are so many home workout videos on Instagram, and I feel like that's putting unnecessary pressure on a lot of people, especially on athletes, because athletes are the ones who should be doing the home workouts. But I think it's just important to listen to your body, and if there are days when you feel like you can't do it, then don't do it. It's fine. The games are postponed a year. You can afford to do that.
Also, I would not bother doing any more home workout videos if you're an athlete, because I think Rhys McLennan has won it. Did you see
with
his
dog? Yeah.
Did you see today his backflip squat?
Oh no, I didn't see that one.
Oh, you've got to watch this. It puts everyone to shame.
I saw the one yesterday where he did a flip over his dog.
Wow.
Yeah, he's just showing off, isn't he?
Yeah. Do you have what you're talking about there, the stress and the down days, which everybody's have? Like, do Sport Ireland, do you have people you can talk to, you can ring up, who are making sure that if you just need to chat for half an hour, that there's someone there?
Yeah, I do. We still have access to all of our I still am doing physio, and then I'm still in contact with my sports psychologist. So even there are days when I kind of just feel like I need to chat with someone, not particularly about anything, but just have a chat, and that's kind of what we've been doing. And then my coach, the para swim team have such a good little thing going on. We have a Zoom every week, and it's just to check in. It isn't even to talk about anything in particular, but we know that they're there, and the fact that the contact is still being kept up. And I think that's an important thing for coaches. Even though you're not able to see your athlete, it's an important thing to just keep checking in with all of your athletes, because at the end of the day, we all still have to get back in training eventually. So to make sure that we're all in a good frame of mind is really important, and that's fortunately what I have.
And what's the Ellen Keane box set recommendation?
I'm currently watching Entourage. I'd never watched Entourage before, so I'm on season 8. There's only 8 seasons, and I'm on season 8, and I'm near the end. I'm told it's an emotional ending.
Okay, prepare yourself for that.
Yes.
Ellen, it's been great to talk to you. You are a Toyota ambassador, who are official partner of Paralympics Ireland and worldwide mobility partner as well for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. Their campaign, you'll see it on television, Start Your Impossible. You can visit toyota.ie. Are we going to get a new episode of Keane and McGeehan Unleashed?
I think so. I think we're going to have to rename it, though, to Keane and McGeehan in quarantine.
I like it. I like it.
Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We will bring you that over the coming weeks, hopefully. Ellen, mind yourself, and thanks for talking to us as always.
Thank you very much.